started with 50 summoners, hundreds of group stage matches, 45 single elimination matches. 2 champions arose from those tournaments, all pointing to this moment. 14 summoners fight for the right to be called the VBC's one above all. Welcome to Vega's Battleworld.
What is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me. When this tournament ends, this Battle World, that I want to remind you, had to be qualified for. That's how elite the players in this tournament will be. By the time it concludes, this will have been a year's worth in the making. I know I can't believe it myself either, but I am so pumped up to bring this to you. We started off with a pretty simple idea, and it grew from there. I told you that there's a reason why it was the Vega Battlegrounds Championships. It was not going to be just one. We had 4 in the making the whole time. We've had 2 separate champions, as you see there. FinTech has repeated. Legacy won the first one, and we have phenomenal performers for you, competitors. I am joined today as we introduce all this. We're going to talk about the brackets. We're going to talk about the groups. There's 2 brackets. That's why brackets was pluralized. And I'm joined today because there was a few competitors who, due to real life circumstances, they qualified, but they could not compete. And I am joined today by 1, potentially 2, and they're going to help me analyze these brackets. I would like to welcome none other than Campo MC. Campo, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, what's up, Vega? So it looks like you've been promoted to an elder of the contest now, and you're running full-on tournaments in Battleworld now. That's incredible.
Well, like most powerful beings, I did not do the full reveal initially, and this has actually been the power level all along.
I love it.
Thank you very much. All right.
Beautiful thing.
I see folks in the chat. I see some of the competitors in the chat. I see Nick136, Bitter Steel, Andrew the Rough. What is up to so many people? Dot, XN, how you doing, buddy? Right. Mr. Omega Beast, Hot Fuzz. Speaking of someone who's been competing in these tournaments, just getting their start. Looking forward to seeing you in season 2, Hot Fuzz. How you doing? Near Win, what's up, dude? Jason Rushing. And so many others, Thank you, Remar. Appreciate you being here. King Slayer, Tillatam, P Dubs, Dot. Booster. I do not want to delay this. I know we all have things to do, and I think we're just going to get straight into this because the hype is big, the hype is real, and we're going to slowly reveal the groups. Now, there are 14 competitors. As I said, there are a few competitors who qualified. They just were not able to compete. That's fine. I get it. I have a feeling they're going to wish they could have, though. We have 4 groups of 3, and in each of these groups, there will be a winner, and that winner will advance to the Conqueror's bracket, the winner's bracket. Let's go ahead and reveal these groups as we analyze them as well. And let's go ahead and show them. We kept it simple. I did have some fun, but we did stick with the simple group A, B, and C, because there's only so many things where you want people being like, what are they talking about? And we did this by seeding. Happy McMuffins made it to the quarterfinals in the first tournament. I believe skipped the second tournament. And then, as you know, made it to the finals with an incredibly close loss to FinTech in the third tournament, the third and final tournament, which was a 3-star tournament. He's the number 3 rated player in all of the VBC. Coming in as the number 10 seed in this tournament is Yusafa, has made it to the quarterfinals in a tournament. Dominant player, massive roster, uses it phenomenally well, incredible community member. And then other than newcomer, and I think this is one we got to keep our eye on here. This is, I think, our first, how are they seated so low in this tournament? None other than SSX's own Bitter Steel, not participating in either of the first 2 tournaments, and yet still somehow qualified for this one. We had to go and double check. The stat man, Adam, who keeps all these incredible stats, had weighed the formula to make sure that there was no anomalies, no exceptions, no mistakes. We went back and checked it, and we're like, no, actually Bitter Steel qualified in the 3-star tournament, going all the way to the quarterfinals with an absurdly close loss to none other than McLinks, who we will see come up later as we go through these groups. Campo, what are you seeing here? What are you thinking? Because, I mean, I established it all. I think it's obvious to everybody. Every single player in here is elite, right? There are no even average players. There are no very good players. They're only excellent players. At the end of the day, though, one's going to advance. What are you thinking as you see those stats, as you hear that? Chat, let us know too. Group A, what are you thinking? What's your prediction?
Well, there's a few factors, right? I mean, Happy, I think, has a lot of experience in the competitive game, like back with Summoner Showdown. He hasn't done all of your tournaments, but I just feel like he is so steady in what he brings to the table. May not be the flashiest player, but he's just so dependable. Yusafa, you already mentioned the roster. Here's the thing, though, man. That roster is even more crazy now because 7 stars exist. I know he's got some rank 2s. He's got a lot of rank 5. So he's a phenomenal player. I mean, he's been in 4 Loki doing tier 1 war for years now. And the roster has always been there, but that roster is even scarier. But you know what? Bitter, I watched his stream yesterday as he was going through the victory track, and he has a really good sense of this meta currently. I'm not going to give away any of his tricks, but he was doing some things that I would have never thought of with some of the champs that he has ranked up. And I do slightly favor him in this bracket. Might be a little personal bias, but I think you were getting onto it a little bit too. Just when it comes to this mode and from top to bottom, the drafting, the picking of the matchups, knowing when to throw, and then how to just do the fight itself and end it as quickly as possible. Massive amount of skill and knowledge. And even though he is low rated, as you mentioned, it's just because he was in one tournament. I think that he has as good a chance as any of them to win this bracket. And I would give him a slight favorite in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't have much to add to that analysis because I think it was just completely spot on. Happy to me watching these. I said I don't have much to add, and then I'm going to still do it. Happy to me, he's like that. He's like for those who play baseball or watch baseball, he's like the guy that's constantly hitting doubles, or he's just getting on first and then he's still second and third. He's just so incredibly consistent. Yusafa's got the yacht. The thing is, he doesn't hire a driver because he knows how to drive it himself, right? And then, yes. Yeah, I mean, it's just the truth. It's just the truth. Having played with the guy, having been in the same alliance with him, playing war with him, watching his streams, he knows what he's doing. I watch his stream so I can learn, right? And then Bitter Steel, I just, if I had to bet, I think Bitter advances out of this group. I don't want to put pressure on the young man, and I can see he's in the chat. I think he advances from this. That being said, I want to make this very clear: wrenches will be thrown these competitors, and I'll let you know the first week's challenge, because each week's going to have a challenge. I'll let you know the first week's challenge as we get a little further into this. Let's go. I did put up a poll. Let's see what the chat is saying. No, this is interesting. Bitter Steel, Happy was winning considerably by a decent margin in the beginning, and now Bitter has taken the lead. I don't know if that's listening to our analysis or if it's just that all 30 members of SSX are in the chat right now, but either way, and then now Happy's taking the lead. So I think this is kind of following our analysis. I think people see it, and keep in mind, everybody, 2 of these competitors, right? So someone from group A, B, C, and D will win their groups, and they will advance. They are guaranteed advancement into the knockout stage, but 2 other competitors will also advance. So if you don't win your group, you still got a shot. We'll get into that a bit more, how that's exactly going to work as we go through this. All right, let's go ahead and end the poll. I think Bitter and Happy. Happy's, I think, has a, what do they call it? A statistically significant enough lead to say that. But with most polls, got a +/- here. It's about Happy and Bitter pretty neck and neck. So let's go ahead and move into... Go ahead and end that poll. Let's go ahead and move into Group B. And again, these were all done by rankings. I had no influence on the creation of these groups aside from putting them into the groups, basically looking at the ratings and putting them in. So I know some people are going to see this group and be like, what the H? So here we go.
That's exactly what the Grandmaster or the Beyonder would say, by the way. So yeah.
What the H?
Yeah.
Oh, that he had no influence. Got it.
Yeah, no influence. Yeah. Oh, I swear.
So I think, immediately this is the group of SSX, right? We've got the number 4 seeded player in this tournament, none other than Tom Jarvis. I believe he skipped the first tournament. I could be wrong on that. And then in this, our second tournament, made it all the way to the round of 16. And then this third and most recent tournament, made it all the way to the quarterfinals with the loss. And I'm sorry to bring it up because I know it might sting a little bit, but an incredibly, outrageously close loss to FinTech, who went on to win the whole thing. So in many ways, I think you could easily say and make the argument, TJ came in second in that tournament, or has an argument for it, did phenomenally well, absolute force to be reckoned with. Then the number 9 seed in the whole tournament, none other than MCoC, whose best performance to date, he did skip one of the tournaments. Best performance to date was an outrageously close loss in the semifinals. I had to go back and remind myself of this, to Legacy. So if you come close and you lose to Legacy in the semifinals, I think you've done pretty well for yourself. And then number 12 seed in the whole tournament, DLL, who's just been consistently doing very, very well. The man designs champions for the game. He knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to use his roster. Qualified as the number 12 seed in this whole tournament. Campo, again, I know you're friends with all these people, but if you could let me know what you're seeing, what you're thinking.
Yeah, this one's tough for sure. And I mean, the thing I'm excited about is I feel like every tournament, BMCG and DLL had one matchup where they fought each other and went down to the wire. Isn't that correct?
This is actually true. There was one of the first very dramatic matchups of all the tournaments. Was their first one? Yep.
So the two of them are just like magnets. They just can't avoid each other in these tournaments. So I think it's very fitting that in this last one of the season, we're going to get to see that, because they will play each other in the group stage. The one thing I think the node, in terms of like the way DLL's roster and his play style is, I think this may not be the best meta for him with the masochism over time. I know, like, just knowing that Mr. Fantastic is one of his top champions, like these science champions that are going to be putting debuffs on you for health control are not going to be that good for this meta. And I feel like some of those more nuke type options are going to come into play. And I know, generally speaking, now that's not like the rule, but DLL's roster, he has a lot of like very specific RPG counters to everything. So I'm going to be interested to see how he tackles this node. That's the only thing that I think puts him at a slight disadvantage here. I could easily see TJ going away with the win here, but B has just been honing his skills and his roster like a madman over the past several seasons of Battlegrounds. So I could probably, if I had to pick, it'd be one of those two. But again, it could really be any of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see it in the chat. Thanks for calling that out. No, I did not spoil B coming to SSX. I literally just forgot that he's not in the same alliance as me. Like, I'm very close with the young man. We played in the same alliance for quite a long time. So no, that was not a spoiler of any sort. What's up? There's Misty K. Thank you so much for all these incredible graphics. If you want graphics done, you want graphic work done, check out Misty K. Link is in the description. And I should say a huge, massive shout out to none other than White Mummy for creating that incredible intro for all the competitors. I told him I want the competitors to be hyped when they see this. I think he nailed it. If you want graphics works done, Misty K, White Mummy, links are in the description. Check them both out. Now, if I'm picking a favorite, which I'm telling myself I have to do, and I'm going to play by my own rules, I'm going with TJ. Now, B and DLL, phenomenal. Like he said, B's roster, I think he was on Ant-Man. He's been telling us how good Ant-Man is. I think we're all now really seeing that. He's done this before with a lot of champions. So that could work out very well. Phenomenally skilled player. He's advanced before, so he's got the experience. DLL, the ultimate tactician, right? The ultimate, like you said, RBG counter. He's going to know exactly what he's doing. I think the thing with DLL is I think maybe he, I don't know why he's doing this, but he spends more time designing the champions than playing the game. I just, it's wild to me. Actually, just kidding. I'm grateful for him doing that. And then TJ. TJ is one of the competitors that when I think about who else really could have won one of these other tournaments. We had the Illuminati Invitational, the Grandmasters Cup, and then the 3-star Deadpool tournament. And TJ's one that consistently comes up for me. And so I think this is going to come down to, will that experience, will that getting so close push him over the edge, right? Because there is a lot of to be said for having experience, for the streaming, for facing these matchups, for going against Finn, for going against Lag, for going against Happy. And then I think ultimately for TJ, recognizing that he's one of those, right? It's not about TJ thinking, I got to go against Finn, I got to go against Lag. It's people got to go against me. I'm Tom Jarvis. I
love it.
The number 4 player in this whole tournament. I earned that. You got to play me. And so I want to see that out of him. I think if we see that TJ come on, I think this tournament's in a world of trouble. So that's my prediction. That's where I am. All right, let's
totally agree.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and move on to Group C. I know I promised some people would be a little quick. You guys know this is quick for me, but for most humans, this is absurdly slow. Let's move on to Group C as we see this. And I can almost hear Brazil erupting as they see none other than their hometown hero. Can you call a whole country a hometown hero? McLinks, starting the whole thing off. The number 5 rated player in the whole tournament was not included in the first tournament. I just didn't know him yet. Then his crowd let me know, this is a man you need to have in your tournaments. You want them to be better, you need to get McLinks. We got him involved, and he immediately took it by storm, getting all the way to the quarters in his next one with an insanely close loss to Legacy, and then made it to the semifinals in this third and final, totally taking it by storm. Phenomenal player. If you're not familiar with him, he does most of his work on Twitch. You need to check that out. Now, the number 8 player in the whole tournament, MU8. Now, this is a really unique, as I was looking back at the stats for this, I believe I had this correctly. He has made the knockout stage in every single tournament. That is very rare. He comes at you with the likes of Hulkbuster and Rocket Raccoon and Storm X, like all these champions where you're like, why are they even in your deck? And then you fight them and you're like, oh, that's why they were in your deck. And he even, in the very first tournament ever, he had, I think it was a rank 4 Wiccan, which was when at that time rank 4s were very rare, and Wiccan was bugging the game out, and he wasn't even allowed to use them. So he's been playing with his arm tied by his back a little bit. He's made it to the quarters, the round of 16, and the quarterfinals with a very close loss in all of them. Keep your eye out on that. And then MP Blaze. Here's a couple things I want to point out. I think everyone knows. They're like, oh, that outrageously skilled player used to be in Noon. Now he's in SSX. He taught us all how to use Mr. Negative and other champions, and shows us how great Mega Sentinel is. Yes, that guy. But here's the other thing, is I've noticed a steady progression out of MP Blaze. I think he started off as a war player who, this new mode, and he decided to do it, and he was invited to tournaments, so he participated. And I've noticed him more and more becoming a Battlegrounds player. Campo, what do you see and what do you think?
Yeah, I was definitely going to make that point about Blaze as well. And I think in the last tournament, which is probably the performance that allowed him to make it into the top 16 here, there was a much more like studying of the other players' rosters and practicing with his champs to prepare for the tournament matches. And not that, he wasn't prepared before, but, as you mentioned, War and Battlegrounds are just such different. The timing and the strategy of just don't die versus I need to KO this champ as fast as possible. So, yeah, he's definitely a bit of a dark horse here. I think watch out for MP Blaze. Marcel, I remember watching that whole matchup. I may have even commentated on it when it was Bitter Steel versus Marcel McLinks. Man, that was one of the all-time great matchups. I remember it was just going back and forth, and he just had so many unexpected, just amazing performances. Like I remember he used Tigra, and his whole chat was laughing at him, saying, "You don't even know how to use Tigra. Like you're gonna die." And then he had this like 20-second fight or something. Yeah. So you just never know what's gonna happen out of him. And then when it comes to MU8s, just one of the most cool and confident guys I know in this game, right? So never count him out. And yeah, I think he's got some amazing roster improvements since the 7 stars have hit too. I know personally. So whatever he was doing before, it's going to be even more augmented by his current roster. This is a deadly Group C. It really is.
Yeah. I should go back. I got so excited to move on. The chat had Group B being won by Tom Jarvis, actually taking a majority of the votes.
Wow.
That's kind of my prediction too. B and DLL are phenomenal. Let's see how that plays out. Your analysis of Group C, totally right on. And something I want to point out is you're saying, like, we noticed Blaze paying more attention to the matchups, and you almost felt like you needed to explain it. And I understand why you did feel that way. One of the things that happens, guys, is these competitors actually go and watch each other's matchups. Like the evolution of the skill set, the tactics, the what you need to do to win has grown exponentially from season 1, from tournament 1. I've watched it happen. You know, in tournament 1, I actually did okay. I almost won a couple rounds against some really great players like Slamon. And I've gotten to the point where I just get wiped out 3-0. And so much of that is because while I've improved, you know, let's say 10%, I feel like a lot of these players have improved 50, 60, 70% and increased their margins and what they're doing to win. As a result, if again, making myself pick a singular player, the favorite for me is McLinks. I think there's a reason why they're rated as high as they are. Blaze has been coming on very strong, and I think it's about how much continued forward momentum he gets. And then for me, MU8, it's about how much concentration are they able to give. The man has a very busy life, and how much focus are they able to do, and how is he going in at that moment? And then also, what challenges does he present for his competitors? I've talked about his deck. Make sure you see his matchups. You're going to see champions you don't see utilized elsewhere. It's very cool to see. But I think the bald man out of Brazil, McLinks, he's earned it. He's done it before. He's used to streaming. He's used to entertaining. He's used to the pressure of tournaments. He hosts his own. They're great. Check them out. I think that experience is going to put him over the top. I want to see it as it happens. And the chat appears to agree. A lot of MP Blaze has built a tremendous following with his war videos, teaching the community how to get better with a lot of champions. So I think he's tracking a lot of votes there. But Marcelo, this is our second one where someone actually does have a majority. Now, it's only 52%, but still, even coming out with a majority when there's 3 candidates, I think is sizable. I think we see who the community has as the favorite as we head into the group play. Now, I know I see the comments from Andrew. I see a lot of you. And so thanks for being here, everyone. I can't talk with everyone today because we're going through this quickly. Andrew, don't worry. Don't worry, my friend. You're not in a group with Finn and Lags. And I know a lot of you are like, where Finn and Lags? Well, we'll get to that. Let's go ahead and take a final look at Group D as we reveal it. It is headlined by none other than the number 6 rated competitor in the whole tournament, Nick136, has made the round of 16, and made it to the semifinals with an incredibly close loss to Happy McMuffin, who made it all the way to the finals in the 3rd tournament. Returning back to the VBC, one of the headliners. I know you love him. Number 7 rated, even though he didn't compete in the 3rd 3-star tournament here. None other than, I know it's one of your favorites. It's one of everybody's favorites. How can you not like this man? None other than Karate Mike, making it to the round of 16 with a very close loss to Legacy in that tournament. Legacy went on to win that whole tournament with a 4-0 sweep of FinTech. So this is kind of like you lose to the champion and you take the champion to the brink. I think you have a strong argument for saying otherwise maybe you're second place or something like that. And then in the other tournament he participated in, Mike made it all the way to the semifinals. I think Group D with Nick and Mike, already just brutal. And then you round this out by one of the other newcomers. We talked about Bitter Steel. Well, it wasn't just Bitter, who competed in only one tournament. Andrew did not participate in the first or the second tournament. Comes in, takes the VBC by storm. Makes it all the way to the quarterfinals and does this all while, I apologize if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am, just starting up his channel, getting used to streaming, all of that. It is a lot. As someone who does it, it is very different than sitting on your sofa by yourself, playing the game. I know it's how a lot of us like to try to take our war fights, make sure the dog doesn't come and bother us, that sort of thing. And, I got to mention this, but Beguile's right. Andrew is probably the most attractive MCoC player ever. Like, in fact, there's something almost wrong there. We'll look into that later, though. That's not what this tournament is about. What do you think, Campa? What do you see in Group D?
Well, I definitely missed the presence of Karate Mike in that last tournament. I mean, he's just so good under pressure. He's got one of the largest channels, so like he's not scared of the camera. He's not scared of competition, right? So I am leaning toward him. I think he's had a couple bad breaks in the first 2 tournaments, whereas like he could have easily been someone to go all the way. I think this might be his time. But do not discount those other 2. I had to fight against Nick136 in the same group, and I didn't know him that well. I've since subbed to his channel, watched a lot of his videos, and really grown to respect him as a player and as someone who just shares their knowledge with the community. I'm curious if he's going to be running his recoil deck this season, because with the masochism, it's a potential way to do it. If that happens, all bets are off, because recoil friendly decks, it could go either way. Like, you can get absolutely destroyed, or you could get destroyed yourself, right? Because like, it all depends on the drafts and who you ban and things like that. So that's an interesting thing to watch out for. But even in the last tournament, when he wasn't running those masteries, he showed how powerful he could be in making it all the way. And yeah, Andrew, I think one tournament under his belt, that much more experience, if he made it that far being sort of a new YouTuber, I think that it's just going to be that much more under his belt so that he can really compete this time. But I am slightly leaning toward Mike. I think this might be Mike's time finally to make it a little bit farther. But, you know, just like any of these groups, it could go to anybody.
I'm going with the dark horse on this one. I hear you on the recoil deck. I watched Nick's video today. By the way, if you're trying to figure out who you should use as attackers, defenders for this new meta, and it is a fun meta, Nick put out a phenomenal video on it, going all over it, and he's done incredibly. So part of why this group, they're all incredibly strong, right? But one of the quirks of this was that, as you can see, Happy was number 3 rated, Tom T-Jar was number 4, McLinks was number 5, Nick was number 6, and then just by virtue of snaking it around, that meant number 6 and number 7 were put together in the same group. Number 7 being Karate Mike, who, another quirk of the way this worked, took a whole tournament off. I think if Mike participates in that third 3-star tournament, we maybe see him even higher up potentially. And then Andrew is the dark horse for me. I think if Andrew I saw him practicing yesterday, and I've seen the young man doing more streams. They're very entertaining. I enjoy watching them. I think if he harnesses whatever that is that allows people to get comfortable with streaming, I think he takes this group. I think it's going to be incredibly close. And I think it comes down to, does Andrew get comfortable playing in front of a crowd with a chat, with people watching, at least close to as he does when he's on his sofa doing his war fights and things like that. I think if he does it, I think he takes this group in an incredibly, incredibly close Group D. Those are my thoughts.
And the other thing is, I believe we're used to seeing groups with 4 summoners, but this tournament there's 3. So that means there's technically, you only play everybody one time. Is that how it works?
You know, yeah, it's almost like we planned that segue. Have you been on the air with me before? Because that was phenomenal.
Yeah, because that, to me, that it's almost like in baseball with the wild card match. You know, there are fewer times for you to make your mark. So some wild things can happen when you only fight them, you know, the one time, and that's what determines who wins the group.
Absolutely. So here's how this will work out. And Campo's got it completely correct. And I appreciate the beautiful segue. Before we do that, though, I will say, I mean, I said you love him, you know him. The chat does have Karate Mike. This is the most significant margin at 64%. 64% of the chat over Mike, even though I combined Andrew and Nick into one Voltron overpowered competitor with Andrew 136, they still think Mike will take it. So I appreciate that. So here's how this is going to work. Is yes, each of these competitors will play each other once. And that will help us determine who advances, who's the winner of each group is. And let me go ahead and show you. Now, that means, and I said that 2 competitors will still advance in a way, right? 2 of the second place competitors. And there will almost definitely be a tie of some sort out of that, right? And we have our record keeping, our scoring. So let's just, for argument's sake, say B McG and MP Blaze advance. Well, where will they go? Let's go ahead and take a look at that. They will be going immediately to the Deadlands bracket. This bracket, the knockout stage, is a double elimination. You have to lose twice to be completely knocked out. It's something that's been requested by the competitors. I think it makes a lot of sense. We will be doing that. Where will those two competitors head? They will head where you can see those empty slots. We have the defeated of 3, the defeated of 1, defeated of 2, and defeated of 4 on the left. And then there's 2 completely empty spots with no labeling. In that example that I just gave, those 2 competitors will head directly there. And you can see that champions, competitors who have lost other matchups will head here. All the way to defeated of 5 will join the Deadlands bracket at the finals of that. And then we will crown the conqueror of the Deadlands. And I know what a lot of you are thinking. That sounds cool. What does the conqueror of the Deadlands get? Also, where the heck are Legacy and FinTech? They're right here. Their performance was judged to be so impressive over the course of this full season. They were immediately granted access into the championship bracket. They also have been bestowed with a little bit of my power. Let's call them heralds. Their role in the group stage will be to help determine which of those ties, which of those competitors come out of a tie, if it happens, is worthy to advance to the Deadlands bracket. Now it'll be up to them. I will talk with both of them. I will give them the request. I'll let them know what I'm hoping for and I would want out of them. And they will be held to the responsibility of doing their best. Otherwise, their herald power will be taken from them. But people will have to go through the gauntlet of FinTech and Legacy just to even make that Deadlands bracket. Because it is important. It is a big deal for them to potentially get there. FinTech and Legacy have earned the right to be immediately in the Conqueror bracket and help determine through their own skill what competitors make the Deadlands bracket. So there we are. There we are. And if you looked at the Deadlands bracket, we'll bring it up again. You can see how these matches are labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The defeated of each of those will then move directly to these spots. So you can see if you make it all the way to the finals of the Deadlands of the Conqueror bracket, you can see that right there with Group 5. Let's say you lose that one, you will head to defeated of 5 right there. You will face the winner, or you will then be immediately in the finals of this Deadlands bracket. Whoever wins that matchup will then head to fight the winner of the Conqueror bracket, and we'll end up with a champion above all. And just one last question that I think I could see people asking is, yes, whoever wins the Deadlands bracket will need to win twice. You have to lose twice to be knocked out of this. So let's just to make this simple for everybody, if FinTech and Legacy continue to win all of the way, and let's say Legacy avenges the last 2 finals and beats FinTech, FinTech then goes to the other bracket. Let's say he wins that, comes back, he'll need to defeat Legacy twice to be crowned the champion of this, and what I am calling the VBC's champion above all. That's it. We're getting started as soon as possible, as soon as the competitors are up for it. What do you think, Campo?
This has me excited. I think this is a little different, right? We're used to just a nice clean bracket. I love the fact that if you lose in your elimination match, what would normally be the elimination match, you have a way to claw back.
Yeah. And
I also like that if, we could see FinTech versus Lags finals, maybe, but maybe not.
Yeah.
But it's set up that it's possible, but there's a lot of things that can get in the way of that, even though they're the top seeded players. I think it's going to be a wild time. I'm looking forward to watching all these matches.
It definitely will be. Make sure you pay attention to every single channel. I'm going to do everything I can to stream as many of these matchups as possible. Sometimes it's just not possible, though. Make sure you check it out on their own channels. Like Campo said, this is intentionally meant to be a bit wild. It's different. I want to see who really earns this title. And then as we go, as we head out, as we close, each week we'll have a bit of a theme, a challenge, let's say. OG Highline, thank you so much for that generous donation. I will put that up at the top of my next stream, my friend, because we'll be signing off here in a minute. Oh, I've got a question here from one of the competitors. Actually, this is a great time. Let's take a couple questions. So if someone loses twice in the pool stages, are you fully straight out? Do you need to come in the second in the pool to get the Deadlands? Better, essentially, for those 2 advancing players, I don't know what to call them yet. We'll figure that out. That's yet to be revealed, let's say. That's what a villain would say, right? It's yet to be revealed. It does not matter your group. let's say. I don't see how statistically, though, let's say, just again, using the rankings, I don't see how you soften yourself could come in tied for second with other competitors. So maybe I'll try to explain that a little bit in the line chat that we have. So essentially it'll be via point totals. We keep points for each matchup. So even if you win your matchups, you want to dominate them if you can. That's very helpful. All of your wins give you points. Losses, in essence, kind of take them away, creating a point total. Those will be used to decide who's going to face Legacy and FinTech. And then you gotta face Legacy and FinTech to even make it in. Those spots are valuable. I want them to be meaningful. You gotta go up and compete against the Heralds. If you have any more questions, though, let me know. Now, here's the challenge for week 1. In week 1, ones will be playing threes. Ones will be playing threes. So Happy will be going against Bitter. Mr. Tom Jarvis will be going up against none other than DLL. McLinks against MP Blaze. Nick136 versus Andrew the Rough. And just in case you thought this was going to be completely balanced and equitable at all times, it's not. And we're going to start that off right now. In week 1, the higher seed, which is Happy, Tom Jarvis, McLinks, and Nick, gets to ban an additional 3 champions from their competitor's deck. They just cannot be there. And they can use those champions themselves. It's a one-way ban. They must supply those bans to their opponents as soon as possible. Then their opponents, Bitter Steel, DLL, MP Blaze, and Andrew the Rough, after reviewing that list, get to ban 2 champions from their competitor's deck. And it's a one-way ban. So you want to think through how you're going to be doing this. It's a move, then a counter move. Let's see how this plays out. This is just for week 1. Week 2, we'll have a totally different set of champions. Bitter still wants everyone to know his favorite champions are Group Drax and Iron Man Classic, with a side of a Gwenpool, in case that's where you want to go. Campo, thank you so much for being here, my friend. This was awesome. I'm so pumped up to get this started.
Yeah, thanks for all this work, and thanks to everybody who did the graphics and videos, because they look great.
Yeah. Massive thank you to OG Highline. Thank you to everyone in the chat for supporting this. This is part of why it's so much fun. And again, White Mummy, Misty K, knocking it out of the park. So grateful for their help. If you're interested in any graphics work, visual work, make sure you hit them up. The links are in the description. Take care, everybody. We will see you very, very soon in the Battleworld. Take care.